We did get, I always ask for questions, and I don't know why, but I never get very many questions. But this time I got one question. It was from a new member, and I'm going to tell you who that was in just a second. It was Melissa Green. Melissa, are you here today?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Well, Melissa sent in one question that was a multi-array of questions, and I think I have them all broken down here. But basically, the primary subject was how does Apple's new Hide My Email feature work? What are the features? And so, oops, I gotta go back. Okay. So this is a, hang on one second. Having a difficult time with my mouse here. I'm going to have to, I don't know why it's not charged, but I'm going to put it on the charger for a second. This is this a one-time email address? Usually that's the way it's used. In other words, if you set it up for Adobe, you would use it for Adobe. And does Apple allow one vendor site to use the address and block others from using it? No, they do not. All this does is create an alias email address so that they don't see or get access to your real email address. But when they respond to this alias email address, it will go to your iCloud email. And this is an iCloud email feature only. Okay, so can it be used for other new accounts? Yes, it can. The same address can be used, but that's a little cumbersome. I played around with that. It's easier to just use a new alias, and they're very easy to create. Can you see these alias emails accounts? Yes, you can. You go to settings, iCloud, and then hide my mail. And I will show you that in a little bit. And what about other ways to protect privacy? Well, you can start by using strong and unique passcodes, maybe with 1Password or with Apple's password security system or others that the group has talked about. And there are a host of other ways to protect your privacy. I'm not going to go into all of them right now because we'd be spending the next day and a half on that subject, but let me go over a few, and I'll get back to some of these other things I mentioned in a little demo in a minute. So next, one way to protect yourself is with email and tracking privacy. So to set up email privacy, you go to email in settings, go to mail, and then turn on privacy protection. And that I hope to show, and that's real easy. It's just a flick of the switch, and then it protects the privacy of your email. Tracking privacy. If you go to settings and privacy and tracking and don't allow websites to track you, that will enhance your privacy quite a bit. Now, I just got an email stating that Apple was going to lighten up on this and allow some types of tracking, and that was disturbing, and I didn't get to go through the whole thing yet, but that just came out a half an hour or so ago, and I did not like that. But this is the one that Facebook and everybody's crying about because it's going to ruin their model. Too bad. Okay, then the other thing, and this I don't think is available right now, but it will come out in iOS 15.2, which should be released next week, and I'm on beta 15.2, so I do have it, and that is if you go to settings, again, privacy and the app privacy report, it's all the way at the bottom. And all the way at the bottom of the page, and it will show you what's going on. Now, another way to protect your privacy would be with VPNs. We've talked about this. I've actually used this slide before. I did add a new one, which is the NordVPN. But VPNs are very important to protect your privacy in public Wi-Fi settings. And you can think of this in terms of your home. Do you need a lock on your front door? What type of lock do you need? There are many choices for these VPNs, and you don't necessarily get what you do get what you pay for. And if it's free, generally they're using your data in some way that you really wouldn't like them to be using it, sharing it with other vendors or what have you. So I definitely recommend a good VPN that has excellent reviews. These four are pretty well rated. I think a lot of our members choose one of the four, and there are others, and go by the ratings. If it's free, again, I would avoid it. Okay, so let me go on and see. And finally, for security, if you really want to get deep into security, you are going to want to sign up for our security and protection course, which is going to be on Saturday, March the 12th, 2022, by our excellent instructor and in-house Apple expert, Jeff Bohr. And I know many of you know Jeff. He's done several presentations in the past and classes, and this will be an outstanding class, and I highly recommend, if you're interested in security and protection, to attend this class. And now we're at the point where I can take some questions, Sheeta.
Okay, Don Peacock, you were the first with your hand up. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question on the stocks app, which I presume you use and have many stocks. When you're scrolling down the list, you have to tap the screen several times on an iPhone to scroll down. How do you keep it from jumping? Is it possible? It's really annoying. But disregard if you don't use the app.
I do not use that app.
Okay, but it does the same thing. I'm reading the New York Times and stuff like that. It's just annoying.
And what's it doing again?
It jumps from something I'm doing, or to hitting the, tapping on the screen to move the display. It jumps, but never mind if you don't use it. There wasn't.
I'm not.
I don't know if you mentioned it before, but there's a thing on one of the settings on your iPhone. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can record what's done for a week. I forget what it's called. So I did that, and then you can download a file, which I did. It's a text file, but it's got some it's got some unknown. What do you call it? The last three numbers. What are they called? File name. It won't open on my Mac. Does anybody know? Anyone ever been successful in viewing that thing about your usage or who's tracking you or something? I'll look it up.
The tracking I want to go over. And
okay.
Did you want to answer any more questions first, Mitch?
Yeah, I do, before I get into the demo.
Okay, Michael Slider, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, hi, Mitch.
Hi.
I've used the email feature to hide my email, and then when I turn it on, it's on permanently. And sometimes I want to show my email. Can I press a button an option to turn it back on temporarily?
You can deactivate the hide my email for that site. I'll show that. This became problematic for me, and I'll explain what happened to me. I was doing something with Esty, and I used my phony email or my disguised email to contact them, and then they said, well, the vendor's going to contact you directly, and they did. But then when I responded to that vendor, since it was a different person than just going to Esty, I was using my regular iCloud email, and the person at the other end became confused as to who I was all of a sudden, because it didn't come from this funky looking email that they'd seen before. But so this thing is not foolproof in terms of you got to watch what you're doing. There is a way to deactivate it, and I'll show that. I have not tried to deactivate it and then send something to that site, but I'm sure you can do that.
Yeah, that was the same problem I had, and I said I need to turn it off because I wanted to show my actual email, and I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah, I'll show that in just a second.
Thanks.
Other questions?
Yes, Michael Lawrence, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Not so much a question, a little comment on the stocks question a couple of minutes earlier. I used the stocks app. You can add your holdings, you can add whatever you want to monitor and watch. I've had no issues with it, but what's really cool about that native app, you can set it up as a complication on your watch. And when you press that complication, you can run through the app, the stocks that you have set up. And when you close that out, when you go back to it on the watch, it always defaults back to the last ticker symbol you looked at before. That's it.
Thank you. I don't have a
right.
watch. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephen. Frank Salvatini, can you unmute yourself and ask a question?
Well, actually, the question I asked was, what problems does this new privacy app or system cause the user? In addition, but you're certainly generating the answer as we go along with what problems you're having with the individual pieces that you're doing it with. I myself don't have it turned on. An hour ago, I upgraded to Monterey. I'm pretty, confused about stuff, but I just wanted to know, what are the downsides of this thing? Why should I turn it on at all?
Well, if you turn it on, you don't have to use it because it'll come up on a website. First of all, it only comes up on Safari websites. So if you're using a different browser, it's not going to come up. And it'll pop up and it'll say, do you want to use a alias, the hide my email feature? And if you don't want to use it, then you don't use it. You don't necessarily, and you can always just turn it off too. And I'm going to show that. I think, I think what I want to do now, Sheeta, is get into some of these demos that might answer other questions, and then we can certainly go back to more questions. Okay.
Okay, but can I ask this? My understanding was that hide my email was really for sites that you really one off, like maybe if they were sending let's say like Macy's, so that if you decided you didn't want to get any more emails from Macy's, you could just kill that email address, and not necessarily for places where you would actually have correspondence with people. So that was my understanding of what that hide my email was really for.
That's exactly right. You want to use it for sites that you're concerned that they might share your email, or you might be getting a bunch of ads and things that you don't want. And it won't stop that, but you can go in and turn off that hide my email for Macy's whenever you want to, and that would stop it.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
If they gave that email address out to 15 other vendors and you started getting stuff, because it's all funneled back to your iCloud email address, you just go in and turn off that hide my email account.
Or just kill it and you wouldn't get any more
Yeah.
emails from them. Okay.
Exactly. Kill it. That's what I meant.
Okay. All right. Go. All yours then. We'll let you go ahead.
All right. Let me go ahead and share my. Okay. So we can do this all on the phone.
All right.
Okay. All right. So let me get back to some of the things that I wanted to go over. Just a second. Okay, so if you go into settings on the phone, oops, let me get back. Go into settings on the phone and go down to privacy. And then you'll see the second item there is tracking. And you go allow apps to respond to track. And I have that turned off. And if it's turned off, you don't even allow them to allow apps to request to track. It won't even allow them to ask the question. And these are all the apps down here that have tried to ask me questions and haven't gotten through. Okay, so that's where you turn that on. And this is the one where I got the disturbing email this morning that somehow Apple was going to lighten up a little bit on this, and I did not like that. Okay, the other one that I mentioned is under mail. Come on, mail.
You just passed mail.
Okay, mail. So if I go to mail and you go down to privacy protection, right there under messages. Privacy, mail activity. And then if you read this, it says when mail privacy protection works, mail privacy protection works by hiding your IP address and loading remote content privately. So you want to have that on. Okay. Then the other thing that's sort of hidden in this area, and you might not have this yet because I understand it's supposed to be released with 15.2, and that is, I'm sorry, that is under the back in the privacy area. You go down to the bottom where it says App Privacy Report, right at the bottom. You pull that up, it'll show all of the apps and what they've been using of yours. So like the weather app has been using my location, mail's been using my contacts, which is fine, and so on. And it'll show the different app activity and websites. So it gives a lot of information. I haven't looked at much of this yet, but it does give a lot of information. And again, you might not have the detailed report yet because I understand it's going to be released with 15.2. Now,
Mitch,
let me get, yes.
in that privacy area was an item I think that was asked in the chat. Would you go back to privacy?
Yes.
Okay, I am not a beta person, but there was an option at the bottom of my screen that says record app activity. And that was the 7-day or whatever, and then save app activity.
Is it at the bottom?
Yeah, that was my
Yeah.
question too. It's
Yeah,
it's not-
that's what's gonna change. It's gonna look like what's on my phone right now. That's gonna change, and it's gonna say app privacy report at the bottom.
Okay,
Has
Okay,
You're
anyone
on
been- Has
You're
anyone?
on a
been able
beta?
to read it?
I'm on the
Okay.
beta, the latest beta, and it's gonna be, I just read a report or listened to a report yesterday on it, and the 15.2 with this feature should be released next week. So if you update to the latest, to 15.2 when it comes out in the next week or two, you should see this app privacy report. Okay,
Okay, Alan Weinstein, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
I'm wondering, when you first put on this email address protector, did you alert your friends and family, people who expect to see emails from you with your normal email address, that they're going to get a strange email address? Because otherwise they may not respond to a strange email address.
no, Alan, because I would not choose to use that feature, sending it to someone I know. It doesn't pop up. It pops up on websites where they say, sign up for our newsletter, for example. And that's where it'll sign up and it'll say, do you want to use the private email feature? But if I'm just sending you an email, I would just send it from my normal email account, and that would have nothing to do with it.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Okay, now I want to get into settings here for a minute. So if you go to settings right at the top where my name is, and then go down to iCloud. Okay, here is where this hide my email is. It's about the 4th or 5th item down, hide my email. And I'm going to hit on that. Okay, take a minute to load up. And here are all the ones that I've set up. Okay. So if I look at like cycle meter, okay. And you can see there the app. You can see the funny looking email that has been set up, okay? And it'll be directed to my iCloud account. And I believe if I hit manage settings, that's all the other ones. No, I want to cancel that. Now, if I turn this off, it will turn off email forwarding, and then in effect, I wouldn't want to use that email when I'm sending messages to cycle meter because they wouldn't be forwarded.
Once you
Okay.
turn that off, is that email address gone from here? That particular email address?
If I turn it off,
Oh, still there.
it's still there. There's a way to well, there's a way I know to make it inactive, because here's an inactive list of ones that I've made inactive. And I thought it was right there on the email. Let me see another one. That's the same.
Would it be under manage settings?
No, it's not under that. I tried that. Manage settings. Oh, let me just look. Cycle meter. Hold on. This might be it. Yeah. Stop using.
Okay,
Stop using Apple ID.
okay.
Manage hide my email settings. Okay, so if I hit that and go to here, no, that's not it.
It
It's
puts you back in a loop, yeah.
It's probably stop using for cycle meter.
Okay.
Okay,
Got it.
so but I wonder now if it's still there. It's still there. I'll have to do some more research on that. I'm sorry. I know I've deactivated a lot of them, and
Mhm.
I haven't used the feature that often, but it pops up on websites.
Okay,
Um,
David Winograd, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, I found a real problem with using it, which was it loads everything in the background. So if you're going through mails and there's anything more than text, you're going to have to click a box saying load remote content for each individual mail, which for me is a pain. And my question have you found a way around that?
no, I've not. I've not used it that often. The only time I've used it is when I get on a strange site and they say, I mean, I used it on a few of them there. You can see to test it out, but I basically used it when it's subscribing to an email newsletter. And I know that they're going to be sending me a bunch of stuff and they might be
Mitch,
sharing my email.
excuse me, Mitch, that's not my point. My point was, if you leave that setting on, okay, regardless, even
Yeah,
if you just leave on hide my IP on the
right.
Macintosh, every time you go through mail, you're going to have to click the load remote contact button over and over and over. That's my problem. So I'm talking about a universal setting for mail.
I,
Is that on your computer or on an
Yes, it is on my
iDevice?
computer.
I can't speak to the computer. It's automatic on the phone as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would think if you turn privacy off on the phone, then it would be low. Then it would come out fine. If you turn privacy on, it's going to be remote load content, just like every other device. And I guess I was just looking for a way around it, and I guess there isn't.
I
David,
I was not
Yeah.
aware of the problem until you mentioned it.
I
Yeah,
think
George.
there is a way of it. I think you're getting annoyed by the fact that you're not seeing the content and you have to click up in the right-hand corner of every email.
Yes.
Yeah, you can go into privacy and preferences and do something in there that'll reactivate it.
Yeah.
I have a question. Before you go any further,
It's
I
in
have a
reverse.
question. Yeah, I have a question though. And if someone can answer this question for me, years ago, I believe I read that you should actually have that load remote content button so that it wouldn't automatically load that information on your computer, because sometimes that could be how you could pass along or get a virus. Can anyone answer that question for me here? Are you raising your hand, Michael Slider, for that?
No, I was raising my hand for
For
Mitch's
something.
previous one.
Okay. All right. Then, all right. I'll look that up. But-
Cheetah,
Yes,
Cheetah?
Melissa. Yes,
this is Melissa. My understanding is that there are people that know how to make a pixel in an image send back information.
Yes.
So when our emails automatically load pictures or the signature or whatever,
Load.
Mhm.
uh,
Yes.
it will automatically send
Load.
back and say, hey, this is an active person. They opened my email.
Yes. Yes.
So
That's
that's
yeah.
the only part I can
Right.
contribute.
And that's what I remember, Reese. For years, I've actually had it so that I have to load that remote content and I make sure it's from someone that I know. Anyone else can give an answer on that? Jim Cutler?
Yeah, that's always been my advice is to leave that turned off.
Yes.
I always get confused about how to do that on the phone, but on
Um,
the desktop, sure.
yeah, that was my
Assuming I can
understanding
do
as
that.
well. Yeah. Okay. All right.
And there's two reasons. One is it's a really cheap way to track. That's called tracking pixels. And the other thing is whatever you download, you're downloading from somebody else, not yourself. And so if you don't trust them, you probably shouldn't download it.
mhm. Okay. Thank you, Jim.
It's about that simple.
All right. All right, Mitch, all yours.
Okay, so I want to go into a couple other areas, and one of them without getting, let me just skip to my slides here on my other device and see what I want to talk about next. Yeah. One of the things I wanted to talk about is a new feature with iOS 15 on the iDevices or on the iPhone particularly, and that's the drag and drop, which is really a nice feature. And it's hard to demonstrate because it takes two fingers to do it. You have to hold one finger on what it is that you want to drag, and then you, with your other finger, you have to move on the screen to open another app to where you want to drop it. But I'm going to do it on the phone with some photos. And so bear with me. So I'm going to go into my photos and I'm just going to go in here and drag on one, and you'll see this, and they talk about it. It's like this is floating underneath your finger. And if I just touch on other photos, they'll come in with that. And so now I have 6 of them there. And now at the bottom, I swipe up and I take these 6 and I open up my messages, and I'm going to go to me, and I'm going to drop these right here. And now they're loading, and now they're there. And so if I hit this send, I want to show this other feature. Now I've sent those. And this is a nice other new feature. You'll notice that there's a fan and it says 6 pictures at the top. You can just fan through those pictures, which is really sort of nice. Okay. Now, the other thing you can do, which I'm not going to do, is if I touch on those 6 pictures at the top, it will automatically download them from my text area to your photos. So you no longer have to do them one at a time. You can do all the photos that somebody sends you at one time. So that's sort of a neat feature, and you can do it with, you can grab text, you can grab things off of a website, and this grab and drop is a really neat feature. I put a link to it in the notes, and also a link to a short YouTube video that explains it, because you really need to be able to see somebody and what they're doing with their hands to appreciate how this works and how easy it is. And I know that I had trouble with it to begin with. Like, I was in photos and I was pressing on the photo and trying to get other photos in, and it's a light press, and then it just moves around the screen. And then when you add another photo, you just tap on it. You just barely touch it, and it goes right into the whole stack. So that's a pretty neat feature. Any questions on that?
Any questions on that? Anyone? I don't think so.
Okay,
Michael's, what? Okay, thank you, David. Michael Slider, do you still have your question? Is it valid for what's right now?
Yeah, I'm just, in the mail section that you were addressing, please, Mitch. If you're using your email address and you've hidden it, and let's say that you're signing on to a website as part of that,
yes,
you use your email address as part of that. If you've hidden it, then and you want to sign in using your actual email address, how would you do that?
you would just send it from your regular email address rather than sending it from the um, the bogus address.
So that
If you
means then
go,
you have
if you
to,
go, if you go in the mail, let me show this
Right.
because I think I can do this. I did it yesterday. So if I go into, if I go into mail and create a new mail, if I go down here to this area, and I think it's wait a minute. Send, no, hold on. If I hold on my address that I'm sending it from and I scan down, it'll say hide my email address, okay? Now, so it's from a hidden email address. Now I'll send this to myself okay, and I'll just do test. And I'll do here, hello.
how did you
Okay,
get it
now,
to do a from address with the hidden email? How did you do that?
okay, you do that. Let me send this first and I'll go back and show that again. So now if I go to my iCloud account, I'm going to see this is where this came in. It came in from this funky looking address. Okay.
Right.
Now, if I reply, okay, it's going to reply with that address. But if I don't want to reply with that address, I can, let me just see. Let me see, reply. No, I think that what I would have to do is I would have to go in and I would have to go to, and I would have to change this from to my regular email address. So I'd have to put in from, and I'd have to go, come on.
Well, couldn't you just erase
I'd
it?
have to put in my regular email address.
Couldn't you just erase it when the new draft mail comes up?
I
Erase the
don't,
from and change it?
yes, you could do that, and now I can do plus, but I still have to go in and then I have to put my regular email address in there. So I would put in okay, and I would put in this one. I could put in this one, or I could put in here, this one. Now I'm doing it from where my real address. So it's sort of cumbersome, but you can do it. Okay.
All right.
Now I'll show you how I got that again. Let me go back in here and create, let me delete this. So let's do another email. And when I go down here to this from address and I hold on that, when I hold on this menu of addresses comes up. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it's got this hide my email address. And I click on that. And now you see where it says hide my email?
Mm-hmm.
It just created a brand new one. Okay. Does that answer your question on how to get it?
Don, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was correct.
Okay,
Okay.
great. All right, thank you.
Good.
Stephen Ramirez, you have a question?
Yes. By the way, that feature just was introduced. They've expanded that hide my email. It's pretty cool how they've expanded where you can find it and use it. Going back to that photo drag and drop real quick. I'm sorry to go backwards on you. That's a drag and drop feature where you can go to your photo library, right, and grab those photos. You can't copy and paste them. You have to drag them in, right?
You can copy it. You can copy and paste it. You can still copy and paste if you want, but
so once you've created that group, once you've created
the group, you have to drag and drop, I believe.
Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. By the way, they copied that idea from the app page, your home page. You can do that same concept with apps.
Yeah,
Hold an app.
Yeah.
Very,
Hold an app and
I didn't know
make
you
a
could
group
do.
of
That's
apps.
cool.
Yeah.
Didn't know you could do that in photos. Thanks.
All right.
Yeah, you can do it in photos. You can do this on a website on taking photos and grab. If you pull up a website and it's got 8 or 10 photos, you can do the same thing. You can do the same thing with. You can do drag and drop text. I haven't used it extensively yet, but I have used it, and it's very nice.
Okay. Melissa, you had a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's been answered.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Got
Okay,
another
go
one?
ahead.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I have another little thing I wanted to show you all. I'm not a huge fan of shortcuts, but I found this one and it really is sort of handy. So I'm going to go and this is the shortcut area. And I put a link, if you like this shortcut, I put a link to it again in the discussion area. You can click on it and you can download the item from there, the actual shortcut, and it's from a safe site. So, but I'm going to go into this area right here now, and I want to show you another little trick. So the one that I want to demonstrate is this SUC, and you can actually activate this with Siri. If I would go, hey George, SUC, it would activate it if George was Siri. It doesn't always understand what I'm saying, but most of the time it works. Now that's not the way I choose to use it. What I choose to do is put it on my home page. So it's like, well, how do you put a shortcut on your home page? And that's what I want to show. So this one's already on my home page, but this one, this meme maker, is not. So you see these 3 dots right here. I'm going to click on those, just touch them. And this page comes up. And then what you want to do is this little funny looking thing at the top, you want to touch on. Works the same for all shortcuts. And then right here, you hit on add to the home screen. So I'll do that. Okay. And I'll put add at the top right. Now, there it is right here. Okay. And if I hit on that, it would run that particular shortcut. The one I have, the SUC, which is silence unknown calls, is right here. And I choose to use that rather than using Siri. But to get rid of this, you do a hard press on it. and then just delete the mark. It's going to delete it, but it's not actually deleting the shortcut. The shortcut is still there, right there. Okay. So this one here, I put on my page, and I'm going to hit on it and watch what happens. This is to silence unknown callers, which, and the reason I like it is because I use that feature quite often, but if I call my doctor and I don't know what phone he's going to call back on, and I don't want to miss the call, I'll generally go in and I'll turn off silence unknown callers until he calls me back. So that's how I use it. I turn it on and off periodically. Although most important callers will leave a message, but if you really want to talk to the person and don't want to miss the call, and they might call from a phone that's not in your contacts, then the best thing to do is to turn off this setting. So I'm going to hit on that. And when I hit on that, it immediately takes me to that area. And that's slick. And then I can turn this on, or I can turn it off that quick. So I like that quite a bit. I mean, just because it's easy for me to get to that area real quickly and not forget it. So I'm on the phone with somebody and they say, well, I'll call you back. As soon as I get off the phone, I hit that shortcut, go right in. And then when I'm done talking to them, go right in and turn it back on. Any questions about that?
Any questions about that, anyone? Just that.
Yes. So you
Go ahead.
can't tell by looking at the app what mode you're in, though. By looking at the icon, obviously that doesn't change.
No, the icon doesn't change. You have to look at the setting.
Thank you.
But to look at the setting, I mean, all you do is just
tap that, right?
tap on there, and then I see, oh, it's on.
That's a great app for shortcut.
It's a great shortcut because otherwise, okay, so let's go back. So otherwise, I'm thinking, oh, I got to go in and turn that on. Well, I've got to go to settings, okay? Then I have to go down and I go, where's the phone at? Okay. Where is the phone?
Yeah.
Can't even find the damn. Okay, here's the
Go
phone.
down.
Now,
Yeah.
where's that setting? Oh, yeah,
Right.
here it is. So it really shortens it quite a bit. So I put a link to that in the discussion group if you want to download it and play with it. And the only thing you'd have to do is go through that step of putting it on your homepage.
But again, that's only on the 15.2, right?
No, this will work right now.
Ah, thank you.
But you
Any other
just got to
questions?
remember that once you do the shortcut, you still have to go in and do that little trick of getting it on your homepage.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Marcia Khan, you have comment, question?
Yes, I have RoboKiller. Does that work the same as silence unknown callers?
No, I think it works a little bit differently. They develop as I understand it, most of the RoboKiller type apps, and there are several out there, develop a large bank of robocall, phony call, fraudulent call numbers. It could be thousands of numbers, and they're adding to that bank all the time. And so it's preventing those numbers from coming through to you at all. Whereas what this does is if the person is not in your contacts,
right,
then what happens is that the phone will ring, your voicemail will come on, you will not see the phone will not ring on your phone, although it still does come through on my iPad, and it'll still, I think sometimes it shows on my watch, but it doesn't show on my phone. If it comes through on the other ones, I ignore it. But they have the opportunity, your voicemail comes on, so they think, oh, well, he's just not around. I'll leave a message. And the theory is that, hey, if it's somebody in your contacts and they're getting that, or if they're not in your contacts and it's an important call, they're going to leave a message.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
I'd say now about 15% of the robocallers leave messages, but you can always tell it right away when you hit your messages. You can see that it's a robocaller. Does that make sense?
It does, but you know, I'm also getting robo messages. You know,
Robo messages is a whole different ballgame. And
right.
some of those robocall type apps will help control the message scams.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcia. Stephen Ramirez, do you have a question, comment?
I have a real quick question, a presentation question. Mitch, how are you generating that cursor? Do you have a keyboard hooked up to your phone? Do you have a mouse? What is generating that cursor?
This cursor right here?
Yeah.
That's just the mouse on my computer, on my 24-inch computer.
So you got your phone and your computer working together. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Once you're in Zoom, your mouse still works.
All right, thank you. Joe Grillo, you have a question. Unmute yourself, please.
I do. On the SUC, when you silence unknown calls, does it still allow them to leave a voicemail?
Yes. Yes. So if you're not in my contacts, which I know you're not, and you call me, it's gonna, after 4 rings, it's gonna say, hello, this is Mitch, and please leave a message and I'll get back to you. If you don't leave a message, I'll see where I got a call. I mean, there'll be a number there. I got a call. It'll show unknown caller, or it might, you know, or whatever caller ID comes through. But if you don't leave a message, you know, I won't, I'll just figure it was somebody who didn't need to talk to me, because if they needed to really talk to me, they'd leave a message. Hey, it's Joe, give me a call back.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Frank,
Yes.
you have a comment, question?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Okay. Mitch, all yours.
I'm open for questions on any other subject. Oh, I do have a couple more slides I wanted to show.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Let me stop this, and at the risk of not being able to get out of my computer slides again, I am going to share.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I was having trouble with my finger. First of all, thank you for some of the ideas in this meeting. One of the things that I was wondering about is the search engine on Mail in iOS or iPadOS is pretty deficient, in my opinion, versus Mac, and it's hard to really get a good search. So I'm constantly going to my Mac. And is it something I'm doing, or is it a feature?
It's I think that is it's more feature poor on the iOS devices than it is on the Mac. I don't use the Mac Mail. I rarely use it, and that would be a reason for me to use it, to go to it. So I struggle through using it on my iPad and my iPhone, but it is not as feature rich on those 2 devices. Any other comments on that?
Are there any, are you saying that you use an alternative that seems to work cross-platform?
No, I don't. The alternative I would use would be go to my Mac and use that Mail, but I don't use it very often.
Okay, thank you.
Al Katz, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi, Mitch. Thanks for answering these questions. Mine's a little technical. It relates to that question before about the cursor. I use my iPhone to mirror on my computer screen with a Bluetooth mouse using the accessibility feature and a pointer. And it allows me to create a circle instead of a pointer, and color it red or any color I want. However, when you use accessibility, there's a black circle that shows up for handicapped people, which I'm not using it for that purpose. But the question is, if you know anything about it, can you remove that circle so that it's not interfering?
I do not know. Does anybody else know?
The answer is no.
Okay.
I actually use that a lot when I'm working with my iPads. And no, you can't. I do wish they had more features in order for you to be able to change that to what you want to. It's limited a little bit, but the answer is no.
Is there any way to hide it or disguise it or make it lighter?
You can change the opacity of it.
Okay,
and you can hide it. You can hide it. What device do you have? An iPhone, later model iPhone?
13.
There is look this up. There's a tap back feature. This is what I have for mine, because I turn mine on and off depending on if I'm doing a demonstration or not on the iPhone. And I have the tap back feature set so that when I tap on the back of my iPhone, 3 times, that I turn that cursor on and off.
Oh, wow, great. Perfect.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thanks so much.
You're so welcome. Janet Reamer, you have a question.
Hi, sorry, I don't know why my video's not on, but I don't look that great anyway. So whatever.
It's okay.
I have a question that relates back a couple sessions. And by the way, great info today. My head is spinning. I got to go back and watch. So I want an Apple Watch for Christmas. I've done a bunch of research. I made notes when you guys talked about that. It looks like the better bang for the buck is the SE. Now, I found one that I like. My biggest question is GPS versus cellular. Is there a benefit? I have a Fitbit right now with nothing special. I do get my texts, even if I'm not with my phone. Can someone explain to me the difference in what I can and cannot do?
No, not right now.
Okay.
That's too long. That's too long a conversation. Okay.
Okay.
Do we have any quick questions? Stephen Ramirez, you have a quick question?
Cheetah, were you talking about the assistant touch button?
Yes. The cursor,
you can
yes.
turn that display off, because I use it like that prior gentleman was talking about, and you can turn it off and on.
I just told him how to turn it off and on.
Oh, okay. I thought I misunderstood you. I thought you said you couldn't. I'm sorry.
No, he was he was asking about something else. But yes, you can. Okay. Yeah, you can turn it on and off. Don, go ahead.
Yeah, the answer I think to the previous caller was on the Mac. If the sound thing has disappeared from the top bar, it's on. Go to sound on system preferences, and down at the bottom it says show volume in menu bar. Maybe that got unchecked for some reason. If that's checked, it'll show.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Don. Frank, you have a question?
Yeah. The shortcuts, can you make them up?
Yes, you can make up shortcuts, but and there are a lot of them that are ready-made on the internet. You got to sort of watch where you're downloading them from. But I am not an expert at making them up. I mean, I generally find one or hear about one on a YouTube video that somebody has tested and says it's okay, and they'll give a link as to where to download it, and that to me is what I do. But you can make them up, and you can make up very complicated ones, but I'm not an expert on that at all.
Well, I love HyperCard.
Frank,
Yeah.
Frank, look up Google Rosemary Orchard, and she has done lots of YouTube videos on how to make shortcuts.
Rosemary.
Easy to
Orchard.
understand. Rosemary Orchard.
Oh, great.
All right.
But where did you get the SUC shortcut?
I put a link to it in the chat. If I can put a link again, you might not have.
I copied all of them again for you, Mitch. So they're all there
Okay,
twice. All right.
they're all there, and it's just it's a live link. So if you go to chat, you'll get the live link, and it'll take you there, and you can download it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sure.